Hey guys, it's me, Misha. Alright, so we're gonna just jump right into this, and today we are talking about screenwriting. Alright, so screenwriting is basically script writing, in layman's terms. So I thought this would be a great topic because I woke up this morning, I was in the mood to make a clip or a video about something, a topic about filmmaking, and I was going down the things that I've already talked about, and I think this is the thing I haven't really talked about a lot, so let's just dive into this. Um, the first place that you need to start if you're wanting to be a screenwriter or a scriptwriter is you have to learn screenwriting. And this video is not going to be about, formatting a script and stuff. There's plenty of other videos on YouTube. There's classes that you can take. Go watch those. It's not as hard. But the next point that I'm going to talk about here is you need to learn your software, which pretty much does the work for you. Nowadays, software is so cheap, so available, so free. You literally don't have an excuse to have to not have screenwriting software. They have apps on your phone that can do the formatting for you. They have pretty much like there's Celtics. Adobe offers I think a free scriptwriting program. There's Slugline. There's so many of them. I literally can't gather all the programs in my head. I use Celtics. That's because when I went to my kind of film school, that's what my teacher had me screenwriting on, and that's just what followed through. I have tried other programs, but it's like, I think it's just the simple fact that I started on this, and I know how to do it. It's just ingrained in me, so, but you're going to find different pieces of software. Slugline is different because it takes away the mouse, so to speak. Slugline is the moment that you press enter, it somehow automatically knows where you are at. Like if you're writing, movement, like if a character's walking, or in the screenwriting world, that's what we call action. And then it already knows like you're gonna go to this character and then write dialogue and then write action and then dialogue. Somehow it just automatically knows. I don't like that software because not because it's not accurate. It's very accurate. It's just for me, I like to use the mouse a bit more while I'm screenwriting. But that's just me. I'm a bit more typical to what other screenwriting softwares are like. You have ones that are templated and formatted differently. You have Celtics is kind of like, Celtics is just your all-around screenwriting software. They're all pretty much the same. They're all going to have their quirks. But long story short, if you want to learn screenwriting, go watch a few YouTube videos about formatting, and then get a free piece of software. As I said, there's tons of apps on your phone that you can get for free. There's Celtics that you can get for free. There's so many free pieces of software out there nowadays. 6 years ago, when Final Draft was pretty much the Final Draft, it's still like a very successful software for screenwriting, but it's not what it used to be. So because back then a lot of the screenwriting softwares that you had to buy for a lot of money. I had Final Draft all because I made the investment to get it because I liked how nowadays screenwriting software has gotten more technical. Like Final Draft, I could write something on my computer And then I also could download the app on my phone. And then when I was out and I thought of an idea, or I was in a waiting room, or on an appointment, or doing something, and I had some available time to just marinate my ideas in public, I could just pop open the app, and it remembers my spot where I was where I was on the computer writing, and then it has it all on the phone. So it's pretty much, if I'm out in public, I can carry my phone and type and continue to write away from my computer, and then it automatically connects everything together. And then when I come back to my computer, everything is there, which was great. I actually bought that software not because of the hype and the praise it's gotten over the years. It's still very good. I just bought it simply because I enjoyed the convenience factor of I didn't have to write everything on my computer. So that's pretty much why I switched over to Final Draft from Celtics. I still use Celtics, so I'm more of like whatever software is gonna help me. I don't pledge my allegiance to brands. I just use it, and if it works for me, I just use it. I don't go like, oh, I have to be on this, I have to be on that. I just use whatever helps me the most. So, now that we talked about kind of you had to learn formatting and then you had to get software, let's talk about the different structures of writing. This has changed over the years drastically. So what I mean by that is plot devices and different things to set up your story. Obviously, you have the very act structure method, and that has held the test of time. And I still use that because it's proven. I mean, it's been around ever since, like, I think Homer the Odyssey and stuff. That was based off that format, and medieval and Greek stories were made with that process, and it's just carried out throughout the years. And but nowadays people are coming out with new plot devices, like new different methods instead of just following the three act structure method. There's like stuff like you take a symbol of a clock, like a clock with the hands, and you write your story kind of in a circle. I'm not saying that you actually write your story in a circle, but it's more like you're connecting events and plot points in the shape of a clock. And it's supposed to be like, if you got an event here, it's supposed to line up with an event here, and if you have an event up here, it's supposed to line up with an event down here. It's very interesting stuff. I actually am planning on experimenting with that new method and other methods. Another method would be, instead of using the three act structure or the plot clock device I mentioned, I've even heard of people who write the story from every character, like they write their point of view from every character, and then they have that as kind of like their draft, so to speak. More so like you're more so like editing and cutting. It's more like editing, writing, so it's like they have all the different perspectives of the different characters in just there, and then they pull from different perspectives and merge it into one big draft. I've heard of people doing that too. I don't do that, even though I am a professional editor. I think that's just too identical to editing, and I love editing, and it just seems a bit more. It seems a bit more it just doesn't seem to be totally necessary, but I can see why people do it. And that's a very good plot device. Sorry about my jets flying over. I live right next to a naval base, so you're gonna hear that a lot. um, let's talk about when you're actually putting the words to paper. You know, I've I haven't written a lot. Like when I was writing my feature film Limbo this year, and then that fell through, because I was writing from my heart. I was writing about hurt and love and pain and sacrifice, and I put it into kind of like a Dante's Inferno environment, and I really wanted to get that made. And then in the process of making Limbo, getting everything together and writing the script, I found love, and I moved out to Michigan for a girl, and she dumped me. And and then yeah, then that whole story kind of dwindled away because of heartache and hurt, and when that whole story was purposely made around finding love, and I guess I'm not doing it no more because I'm just still marinating in that breakup, and I'm not really interested in putting my heartache on the page. Who knows? Limbo could come back, people. We don't know. I hope it does. It was a great idea, a great project to put different love stories together and put them in kind of like a Dante's Inferno environment. I don't know if you've heard of Dante's Inferno. Inferno, it's kind of like an older story, kind of like Homer's The Odyssey and stuff like that. It's kind of like it's the resemblance of different layers of hell, and it's about what that story is this person goes through those different levels, so to speak, and I put that universe into like a modern adaptation of that, and then I had all these different relationship arcs coming in and out, and it was very ingenious. I thought it was a great story. I still would love to make it, but who knows? And that's gonna lead into my another thing is to marinate in the process. If if you're writing something about heartache or breakup, honestly, you need to know what that's like, and so I would say the biggest thing of advice, the biggest tip of advice, is you need to write what you know. But what I mean by doing that, obviously, if you're a professional and you're writing for a paycheck, I'm then why are you watching my video? You need to get back on your draft, because time is money when you're doing that. Honestly, because you need to get those deadlines. But for me, when I write a script, yeah, you're always gonna have trouble getting over writer's block, and you need to stay on top of it. When I was writing Limbo, I made a commitment to myself that I would at least try to get 3 scenes done a week, and that was challenging. But the more I treated it like a 9 to 5 job, like every morning I would kind of get on my computer and write something in the morning and set goals for me, and I would get certain scenes done on a time regimented schedule. I got a lot done doing that. Because I took it as like a kind of like a job. I took it very seriously. It's not like I'm gonna just write for complete leisure whenever I'm in a good mood, but I'm not going to procrastinate on it. But tying into what I'm meaning, other than writing when you don't want to write, which isn't the best, but obviously you gotta do what you gotta do if you're on a deadline. Uh, just let's even when I was on that deadline, if I woke up one morning and I really couldn't get ideas down on paper. Like even if I sat here at my desk, was trying to get over the writer's block, I wouldn't force myself after like 10 minutes of just going like, oh, what to write about, what to write about. I would still force myself that day, even if I couldn't get anything down on paper that morning, to get it done by the end of the day. So again, I set goals for myself. I treated it like a job. But if you're not doing that, you're not going to get anything done if you're procrastinating on it. So you have to push yourself to get past that. But marinate in the process, and if you are writing a feature film or something that's a lot longer, typically feature films, I think the writing standard is if you're turning in a feature film script to a studio, I think the writing standard is about 120 pages long. If you're turning it into a studio, don't be watching my video, please. Go and watch somebody who is specifically talking about formatting and writing and preparing a script to give to a studio. That is completely different. I'm just writing for my own leisure, so to speak, my own projects. But if you're writing to get a story to a studio and have it made into a Hollywood movie, go watch a different video about submitting your scripts to a professional movie studio, and and how you can what best way you can get your scripts seen. That's a whole different conversation. But yeah, just marinate in the process. Don't rush yourself, and that's the biggest thing I can say is it's a fine line. You can't procrastinate, but you also need to enjoy the process. You need to pace yourself. Like when I said, there were mornings that I simply could not. I simply could not get anything down. I would come back to it in the afternoon, and then I would come back at night. And so that's how I challenged myself to meet that deadline. Um, let's talk about how you write dialogue. The best tip of advice I gotta say about this is study human conversations. This doesn't mean be a stalker and and go out in public and just peer into people's conversations. This just means pay attention to your own conversations with your friends, your family, anybody that you come across. Pay attention to your dialogue and everyone else's dialogue. Pay attention to how people use speech. Pay attention to if they're from different dialects. Pay attention to sentence fragments or how they use their words. Some people might be a bit more wordy than some people. Some people may not. Pay attention to these things. Just study and pay attention to how people speak around you, and then kind of pull all that together and put it into your own dialogue, which is a lot easier said than done. But that's very good advice, I believe. Another tip of advice for writing dialogue, along with just pulling and studying from your own conversations, is to stand up, to actually stand up out of a chair. You don't need to do this in front of a mirror. It could help, but take your script, take your dialogue, and read your dialogue out loud. And why I say out loud is it may sound good in your head, but the moment you put those sentences into speech, it's like the speech comes out, and then then what you're hearing paints a better representation of how those words will actually sound and flow coming out of somebody, because the mind can be very deceitful when you're writing dialogue, and that's why I say that you actually have to speak your dialogue when you're writing it, because your mind might think, oh, this may sound fantastic, but then when you get on set and then your actors are saying it and it's not flowing, you got a problem. But separate from that, let me just give you this tidbit of knowledge: is when you're writing a character, obviously you have an actor. They're not that person. They're acting to be that person. But if there's a certain line that when you're on set and your actor just cannot, he or she cannot say what you're saying and it's not coming out the right way, I always let my actors ad-lib. If there's a line of dialogue I wrote that just isn't that isn't making my actors gel well to that line, and if they're like honestly struggling over that line a lot, I allow them to come up with an alternative way of how they would say it. If they're coming to you saying, it's just not flowing right here, it's just that the way they're saying it's not coming out as the way as in the way that you were hoping the character would hopefully sound. This can be their own speech pattern. This could be a dialect they have. It can be a number of different things, but don't be so gun-ho to your script. If you have actors who are struggling on a bit of your dialogue, allow them to improvise, and that's how you get around that. So before I'm going to wrap this up, let me talk about how I write, and let's talk about just it's important to write as yourself. And this is going to lead into the most important thing at the end. But for me, as a writer, I can see my scenes, my characters, my dialogues very clearly in my head. So when I write, I like to write as if I'm painting a picture for the people who are going to read the script. That's not that's not what everybody should do, because it's best to keep things short and simple and to the point and always cut to the chase. Like, if you're submitting a script to a studio, you don't want to do that. You don't want to be painting a picture, so to speak. It's all about consistency and getting into the studio and making it short, simple, to the point, but having it very very word appealing. But with me, when I was writing Limbo, as I said, it was a very visual film, obviously. So I just wrote the images I was seeing in my head, and I let that dictate the style of how I wrote that script. Obviously, I'm not going to do the same thing for, like, if I was writing a horror movie. By the way, Daniel and I are still planning on making a horror movie next year. So please keep in tune to that. I'm actually letting Daniel come up with the story this time. I guess I'm still tired after spending so many months writing Limbo day in and day out, that I'm still, like, and that's going back to, like, you need to meditate in the process. If you're not feeling like writing, don't force yourself too much. So um, so Daniel's still kind of collecting his ideas, and he's gonna talk to me, and we're kind of gonna have to. We're just still coming up with the general idea of what we would like to do, but we're definitely set on making something, making a horror movie, more, most likely, next year sometime, hopefully. Fingers crossed, knock on wood. But but as I was saying, you need to write as yourself, write from the heart, or it's not going to gel. Um, Not every script has to be the same structure or the same way. Sometimes I like to paint a picture for my writers. Sometimes I like to just cut to the chase. But I cannot stress this enough, that this is the most important tip I can give anybody. The director and producer of Breaking Bad said this, not to me, but I heard this down the grapevine and stuff, is that when he was writing Breaking Bad, he was telling people to write what you know about. It kind of begs the question how he would say that when he first wrote another script, and he said he wasn't writing what he knew about, and then when he wrote Breaking Bad, he somehow was. And I don't know how writing what you know about meth dealing. I'm pretty sure he wasn't writing about him having experience dealing with meth, but I think he just pulled motivation from other sources somehow. But the writer of Breaking Bad says to write what you know about, and that's absolutely true. You can't write a love story if you've never been in love. You can't write certain aspects of certain scripts or stories if you haven't been there yourself. I'm not saying you need to kill people and be a serial killer to write a serial killer movie. No, just that's probably what I meant. Was obviously the director and writer of Breaking Bad obviously doesn't. He's not a meth dealer. He just, I guess, he pulled from other motivations of different dilemmas in the script, I guess. But it's very important to write what you know about. And I have jets flying over. Yeah, just write what you know. Don't try to force yourself to write something you haven't experienced in your own life, because it's not going to sound real. It's not going to sound practical in the real world, right? Write what you know about, and it will feel and be more relatable and it will gel better. Well, it will gel better on the screen because you're writing from something that you've actually experienced. Alright, guys. I don't know how long this is, but hopefully you guys like this. I'm sorry if this was a bit of a longer one. I was just kind of in that mood. I got up this morning, and I was like, I need to make a video on another topic, and I don't think I've done an extensive video about screenwriting. I have a ton of screenwriting friends out there. So if anybody sees this who is screenwriting, I hope any of my advice can help you. Oh, it's good to read other scripts. That's important. Is when you're writing something like I was writing for Limbo, get everybody's different opinions. Go to people that you trust. Go to other screenwriters, somebody who already understand the process. Go to people who understand what they're talking about, and then they can give you feedback on your writing as you're writing it. That's huge. Why didn't I not say that before? But yeah, guys, I hope you enjoyed this. I hope this helps. And go out and make something great. and have a great one. Awesome.